You found the Live Local Marketing Podcast, where business owners share their knowledge about what's working in the market today. No fluff, just their experiences and stories from people who are making it happen. And if authentic, practical marketing resonates with you, be sure to visit livelocal.warmmarketing.com and learn to grow your business on warm marketing referrals. Now, on to the show. Welcome. Thanks for joining us here again today. Joe, how are we feeling today, man?
Feeling good. How about you?
That's awesome. You ready to go?
I am ready to go. Let's do it.
That's nice. All right. Joe is a writer and he's a speaker, innovator, leader who helps organizations think differently and tackle complex challenges. He's led initiatives at some really impressive places. He's been to PwC, MTV, Viacom. He launched his own consultancy firm. He worked with other businesses such as Meta, Pfizer, Cisco, JetBlue, Match. I could go on and on and on. But in 2011, he completed the Stanford D School Design Thinking Bootcamp. And today he's going to partake a lot of his knowledge and experience upon us. So without further ado, man, you ready to roll?
Let's go. Yeah.
All right, cool. My first question for you is going to be, talk to us about a time that you had a loss, but it turned out to be a win.
Yeah. This is going to be kind of a long-term loss. So I decided to start my own company in the beginning of 2021. And at the time I had one and a half clients, I'll call it, to give me sort of some runway. One was really small. And, after that, it was hard to generate new business. It was hard to get new clients. And that first year, I tried everything. I was experimenting a lot. And at the end of the year, I kind of, I was sort of down. I thought, this is really hard. Was this for me? But I had made a lot of connections with people in different industries. And I just tried to be really generous with content, with advice, with, hey, would you meet with this person? You two would seem to get along. So I just tried to do that. And the next year, a lot of that stuff started turning into business. So, for what I do, especially, I design and facilitate workshops for lots of clients. The sales cycles are really long, and I learned that. Mm-hmm. So, all that stuff I had done for a year where I felt like, wow, I'm losing this game. I don't know if this was the right call. It turned into wins in the following year where I just got a lot of referral business. So I'm glad I stuck with it, but that was a tough roller coaster at the beginning. So anybody who's thinking about starting their own thing, stick with it. Give yourself some time.
About how many clients you working with these days, to give everybody an idea of where you come from, full circle?
Yeah. So now at any given time, I probably have 4 to 5 active clients. A lot of my engagements are, sort of defined amounts of time, maybe a 3-month engagement where I might work with a company to understand their challenges. A lot of times design some workshop or deliver a talk, and then coaching afterwards. So, they kind of go up and down, but 4 to 5 at a time usually.
Okay, that's good. All right. So with all your experience and all the things you've done and all the variety of clients you've worked with right now, what is one of your favorite marketing strategies that you're using that really seems to work well?
Yeah. My newsletter. So,
wow.
So I started by writing a lot of content on LinkedIn. I have a blog on Medium, experimented a little bit with Instagram and TikTok, but not too much. But LinkedIn was really popular. And what I got the most positive feedback on were articles that I wrote there. So I would write about a topic, and a lot of people would write back and say, hey, that really resonated, or I felt like, I was reading my own story there.
Cool.
And a lot of people said, a really great way to connect directly with people is through a newsletter. So I started putting effort into that. And now I produce a weekly newsletter that I actually really enjoy writing. I thought it would be a chore. But yeah. And I love it. I get to interact directly, on some of the, bigger platforms. It's kind of hard to know how you're doing. But I can see open rates, I could see click rates, and then a lot of people write back to me. So I'd say, if you're thinking about doing something on your own, and if you're interested in writing content, I highly recommend a newsletter because, it's your audience.
Do you have any background in it? Do you have an English degree, or you loved writing, or any of that stuff in your background that inspired this?
Sort of. So I majored in, sociology and psychology in undergrad. And then I went down this hardcore technology path where I was a web designer, web developer, writing code. But one thing I remember very clearly is just always enjoying writing.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, my first job, I remember writing emails and then stopping to reread them and feeling like, wow, I really enjoyed writing that. I mean, who likes writing emails? So I think more than anything, I've learned that I just enjoy the process. And I think also it helps me figure out what I think about things and how to
Yeah.
articulate them, more than conversation. So, yeah.
It's almost like a journal then in a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It really kind of, it gets things out, helps me kind of pick them apart, and yeah, I enjoy it. So yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when you work with these businesses and you've got all this experience, you probably have an array of sizes of businesses. What things do you still do hands-on? What things do you pass off to a team?
yeah,
A quick break before we get to that next answer, because I know that answer is going to be brilliant, which is why I chose this moment to interrupt. If you love what you're seeing and you want to run your business off of warm marketing referrals, visit our website, livelocalwarmmarketing.com. It's got valuable resources, office hours, memberships, the book, an array of resources to help you get rid of cold calls, cold leads, door knocking, and run a business you can be proud of through referrals and warm marketing. Now, back to the show.
So I'm very hands-on with understanding their challenges, understanding, what their goals are. I feel like I need to see body language. I need to hear the
Yeah.
tone in their voice. I need to really understand what their problems are. So I'm very involved in that. Usually a client will come to me because maybe, people are quitting their company, or maybe people have stopped using their
Mm,
product, or maybe they've just gone through an acquisition or a merger and they're trying to figure out how to structure their company. So I like to be really, really close to those challenges. Where I may hand things off would be maybe organizing some of that data that I've gathered, and even starting to put together kind of a framework for either a talk or a workshop. And I like having someone else do that because it helps me get out of my own head, and I get other
mm.
ideas, and then can come together and kind of, react to it. So, yeah, I think it's really valuable to be close to the challenges people have,
Yeah,
but
makes sense.
also, you know, bring in other ideas by pulling others in from your team.
When you back before you started your own consulting firm, were you like in charge of teams and stuff too, or were you a part of a team? Does that inspire or does that experience influence what you do now?
Yeah, yeah. So, I operate really lean now. Before I started my own thing, I was managing a team of 25 people,
It's a lot.
pretty big team. And I spent a lot of my time managing, which I sometimes enjoy, um, depending on what it is that needs managing. Um,
Good.
but it helped me, just be okay with hearing other perspectives, you know, be okay with the idea not being mine. I think that's really important for leaders, to, have a little bit of vulnerability. So I think just
Mm,
being able to manage people, and create an environment where, it's not this kind of like funnel everything up the flagpole kind of thing. It's, good ideas can come from everywhere. So that's
good.
been a valuable lesson.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent. All right, so I'm going to pivot a little bit here, and we're going to talk about branding a wee bit. So when you sit down, what are some of the challenges these businesses have with their branding? And if they're not on brand, do you have a conversation with them about it?
Yeah. Um, so I see this so many times where organizations will tell everyone what their brand is.
Mm,
They'll write mission statements that they want to be
yes.
true,
Yeah.
and they'll say, this
Yep.
is what we want our clients to think. And what I've found is, number one, your brand is your brand. It's what people think about you, whether you want it
Yep.
to be what they think or not.
Yeah.
Um, but more than that, if people internally, if the company employees don't feel a certain way about the brand, then the customers probably won't
Mm,
either. Um,
that's good.
People internally have to really believe it. I do an exercise with teams. It's borrowed from Simon Sinek's Golden Circle talk, which I
Yep.
don't know if people will know, but and I have them write down, okay, what is it that you do? So this is internal teams, internal employees. Write down what it is you do, and I have them do it separately. They don't talk yet, and then they all write that down. I say, all right, let's kind of merge this together. What do we do? And usually people can come up with that. They know what their job is, and then I say, okay, well, how do you do it? And they can usually explain how they do their job. These are the processes and the tools. And then we get to the last question: why do you do this? And they often struggle with this, why? And sometimes the first answer is, well, I do it because it's my job. And I say, no, 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 let's push further. Why do you
Yeah.
do it? Do you care? Do you care about making this better for customers? And usually if we can get to that kind of personal why and try to tie it up to maybe a corporate why or a corporate vision,
Mm,
then you start to understand how the internal teams even think about the company. And that is really where your branding starts. It's not what you tell people your
that's
brand
crazy.
is. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That is good stuff. It's funny is in the back of my head when you say those things, I think of that scene from Office Space when they're in there talking to the people and they're like, "What is it you do here?"
Yeah.
Like those kind of conversations. Yeah,
Funny,
that popped in my
funny
head.
you,
But that
funny you bring that up. So the second chapter in my book, that is the title of it. What would you say
really?
you
Oh,
do?
that's awesome. That's
And it
good. That's good.
references all that stuff with the Bobs and everything in
Oh
Office
my
Space.
God.
Yeah.
That's good. What to plug the book here at the end. That's
Yeah.
an essential. But yeah, starting with employees, I that is such a brilliant strategy. That's really good.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna pivot. So when you sit down with your clients and you look at their overall picture and their stuff and the things that they do, when I use the term useful data, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. I try to look for things that tell you what's going on and things that tell you why it's happening.
Okay.
So let's take employee engagement with an organization, or customer engagement. Let's take that even. Usually, analytics platforms can tell you what's happening. People are dropping off at this point in the checkout process,
Mm,
or people are canceling this tier of our subscription, or something like that. So you can see what's happening. But to truly understand why it's happening, in most cases, you do have to speak to customers or you have to observe them.
yeah.
And and you have to go in with a really open mind. You can't be trying to convince them or sell them. You have to say, all I want to do is learn, what this is like for you. And any answer is okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And then if somebody reaches some pain point that is revealed in the quantitative data, you can stop and say, well, tell me a little bit about what you're going through right now. Why are you maybe struggling with this point? And you can learn things that you don't expect. I think it's easy to, and I've done this, it's easy to get in a room with the team, look at the web analytics or whatever tool you
Yeah.
use and just
Yeah.
say, oh, people are dropping off here. Here's the way we fix it and we're done. But it may not be why.
How do you pull? I mean, you just reach out and poll people? Like, how does that work? I mean, you just randomly do a sample size, or
Yeah.
do you go out and how do you do it? How do you get
Yeah.
a poll?
Two ways. So, generally this is me working with a client who's struggling with a thing. My number one is, can I speak with your customers? Do you have a customer advisory board? Can you just connect
Ah,
me with, and a lot of companies do have this. Can you just connect me with existing customers or even talk to their customer service representatives? They're
okay.
great. Um, and if I don't have access to that, I will try to maybe on LinkedIn or somewhere else find a proxy. So people who maybe, are users of a thing, but maybe it's not that company's thing.
Okay. Okay. That's good. That makes sense. That's
Yeah.
a lot of strategy, a lot of common sense, a lot of experience coming out here today.
Yeah.
Speaking of such, what strategy have you been around for a while? What strategy, like, I'm done with that. Doesn't work
Mhm.
anymore. It's gone. I'm not doing this. What advice do you have?
Yeah. So I don't know if I can mention specific platforms, but let's say we'll go
Go
with
ahead.
a premium subscription to a very, um, prominent job and content platform. We'll just say that.
Okay.
This was something that I used early in
Mm,
my days of running my business, and I started seeing less and less value around it because what I learned is my business is not really a lead generation type of
no.
business. It's not like I sell a product and everybody can
Yeah.
understand at face value. So I stopped using some of those algorithms and targeting tools.
Yeah.
Um, I've been pitched so many AI targeting platforms will generate,
Yeah. Yeah.
$1 billion of business. I've stopped doing that stuff because for me, the majority of my business comes through referrals,
Yeah.
and networking, and the credibility is the things I put on on some of these platforms, the writing, the video content, the examples. So I've kind of stopped with the lead generation game.
Yeah. You said a lot of referrals. Are you joining like networking groups and things of that nature? Okay. Like talk to me more about like how that experience is for you.
Yeah. So this is another thing I've kind of stopped is the really big conferences.
Yeah.
Kind of stopped going to them. I struggle with them. I'm much better, small groups, one-on-one kind of thing.
Makes sense.
It's hard to kind of, make your way through everything in these big conferences. So I try to attend smaller ones, meetups, gatherings. I ask people, is there something that you're finding value out of? So I'll join those. So for me, it's really about, being able to have a longer conversation with somebody than, the quick, let me stop by your booth or grab a quick drink, which, I've done a lot of that, but I haven't gotten a lot of business out of it.
Okay. No, that's good. I like that answer. That is a great answer. All right. So let's do a last one before we talk about your business. So let's say you would let teams of 20, you had somebody in your group that you knew was going to could be a great performer, and they're just not performing, and you knew it was a confidence issue. How does that conversation look? How do you up somebody's confidence?
Yeah. I mean, I think they have to know that you're there to support them. I can think of a couple of, past employees where, we were in a hierarchy that was difficult. I sort of sat between them and maybe another level, and I let them know that I was their buffer. I'm going to take the hits from above, and I'm going to let you do your job. That helped a lot in just kind of unlocking some of the really amazing talent that a couple of people I can think of had. I also just try to be the one, and I said this before, be okay with the idea coming from someone else, and even just kind of disagreeing with it initially, but going with it. I think that goes a long way, where people don't feel like their idea has to be perfect. And they can take chances, they can experiment. I write a lot about this in the book, that when you find an organization where the culture is this, we're a solutions oriented team, that kind of language just creates safe ideas, and people are afraid to experiment. So I had a team that when I did their performance reviews, I evaluated them on how many experiments did you do, how many risks did you take, versus some of the. So I think it's just giving them some air cover, and also showing them that I'm not the boss who has all the answers.
Nice. So you also strike me as somebody, you said in the very beginning of that answer that you're somebody that would be the buffer and take the brunt if things went wrong. I also picture you as the type of leader who would give them credit if it was a good idea to the uppers as well. Am I right with that?
Yeah, it's really important. I've had bosses who took credit for things I did and then blame me when it didn't go right.
Yes.
It's a way to elevate somebody. Just that call out. Because if you don't, the next idea they have, they may just
turn hide it
themselves.
That's exactly it. Man, this is a wonderful conversation. I can keep picking your brain for a while, like the practicality, the strategy, the experience. Like it's such a great mix of everything. That's the common sense that you have, that you've learned over the years, is just invaluable to the audience. It's wonderful. So before we head out, though, do a little talk about your business, and of course, pitch the book a little bit, and then where can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. So my business really consists of three things. So I design and facilitate workshops for companies looking to solve problems and innovate. I do talks. So I give talks on curiosity and questioning and innovation. A lot of those right now involve the tie-in with AI, sort of maximizing the value of human critical thinking with the power of AI. And I do some coaching. So I will coach people either after a workshop or some just kind of, executive level coaching. You can find out everything you need to about the business on my website, which is joelalley.com. Probably the best way to, get into my brain a little bit and learn about what I'm up to is my newsletter, which I mentioned before. So
can you get that from the website?
Yes. So it's right in the header, and it's just joelalley.com/newsletter. It's called One Question. And every week I ask one question and I try to answer it. And there are things like, what makes someone look cool? Or, is it so bad to use AI as a better search engine? Just things that
Things like that.
They're fun. I try to keep them short. So my newsletter is probably the best way to follow. And then for my book, so my book launched in the fall of 2025. It's called Question to Learn. It's behind me because the PR people said it should be. And it's all about, a lot of it is my stories, my career stories about ebbs and flows with curiosity and questions. I interviewed a lot of leaders at different levels to learn what their relationship has been with questions, and a lot of really tactical just advice and tips and tools. So it's an easy read. I'm told you can read it through a flight, like a cross-country flight, but you can find it anywhere you buy books, Amazon, anywhere else.
So at the very least, audience, hop on his newsletter. I did before we got on this meeting. Actually, it was in there. I went to the website that we no longer mention, but that website also has a link to your blog too. So I'm just on there, so I'm ready to go. Thank you for your time today, your knowledge. I hope some folks go in there and at least get the newsletter, buy the book, and set up a time, pick his brain. He's got some great ideas.
I'm always open to it. Yeah, please do.
All right, man. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, thank you.